Hello and welcome. In this video, we will talk about the concept of domestication within the Toltec tradition. Domestication, as understood in this context, refers to the domestication process that humans go through, and understanding it will help you understand how your mind is being programmed as soon as you are able to take in impressions from the external world. The imprinting related to our most primitive survival instincts happens already in infancy. But what we are going to focus on here is when we start to be able to pick up messages from the external world. Now let's look at this from the Toltec perspective. In the Toltec tradition, domestication refers to the process by which we are taught to conform to societal expectations and belief systems. It's something we all experience from an early age, as our families, schools, and communities guide us into what's considered acceptable behavior. This domestication often starts with good intentions from those around us. They just want to help us navigate the world, understand rules, and coexist with others. But over time, it becomes a double-edged sword, because while it gives us structure, it also strips away our authentic selves, and the more we come into contact with the larger world, the more we come into contact with domestication that is not benevolent. Domestication from people that want us to act in a certain way because it serves them, or because they want to sell us something. What's funny about this is that these people in turn have been domesticated into being who they are today, but unless you break this cycle, you will in one way or another continue perpetuating it. Imagine being a young child, full of curiosity and self-expression, and then slowly, day by day, you're taught that some parts of you are good while others are bad. Praise is given for behaviors that align with others' expectations, and punishment, whether through words or actions, is doled out for what doesn't. We begin to internalize these lessons, creating a mental framework that defines how we see ourselves and the world. Over time, this conditioning turns into a set of agreements, beliefs we accept about who we are, what we can do, and what we cannot. These agreements form the foundation of what Don Miguel Ruiz calls the dream of the planet. This dream is the collective reality shaped by the beliefs of society as a whole, a web of rules and expectations passed down through generations. As stated before, it's not inherently wrong in and of itself, but it's often severely limiting towards genuine self-expression, and as you can see from the world that we are creating today, it's deeply dysfunctional. Thus, in this shared dream, we lose touch with our true selves in our often burdensome and painful attempts to fit in. Now let's bring this closer to home. You may have been taught to value things like success, beauty, or approval. Maybe you don't even know consciously that these are things that you value, but for most of us, if we observe our actions, reactions, the way we speak, how our experiences make us feel, and our priorities, they will tell us that we do. These values aren't automatically bad, but the way we pursue them often comes with a cost, and at least the craving for approval can only be useful if you have nothing better to motivate you to act like a decent person, and if you gravitate towards content that is intended to help build you up. This is probably not something you have to worry about. As for success or beauty, the problem is the importance we place upon them, which is part of our domestication. A large part of our culture tells us that our value and happiness are dependent on us being beautiful and successful, so when we don't perceive ourselves as embodying these qualities, we suffer. The same large parts of our culture furthermore set very narrow parameters for what beauty and success look like, and whether we believe that we fall inside these parameters is very subjective. For many, it doesn't matter how beautiful or successful they are in the eyes of others. In their own eyes, they are never good enough. And even if you do feel like you've caved something in the physical reality, there's often an underlying sense of emptiness or disconnection. This disconnect happens because the agreements you live by may not actually reflect who you are at your core. They were handed to you by others, parents, teachers, friends, television, movies, music, religious institutions, the mass media, and so on. And you accepted them as truth without questioning. As said in the beginning, the problem is often not that these people intentionally meant to harm you. Those close to you were just passing down what they were taught, and many of the movies you watched when you were a child were teaching you positive values. But these agreements, when not approached with consciousness and discernment, can trap you in a cycle of judgment and self-rejection. And, as said, there is much programming in the public sphere on the grayscale of someone wanting something from you with no regard for what you want or what's in your best interest. One of the most important insights from the Toltec tradition is recognizing that domestication creates an internal judge and a victim. The judge is the voice in your head that constantly evaluates your actions, comparing them to the rules you've internalized. If you fail to meet these standards, the judge punishes you with criticism and guilt. The victim, on the other hand, is the part of you that feels powerless and unworthy in the face of this judgment. Together, these roles keep you locked in a mental prison. Breaking free begins with awareness. You can't change what you don't see. Start by questioning the agreements you've made. Ask yourself, do these beliefs serve me? Do they reflect my true values, or are they just echoes of someone else's expectations? For example, if you believe you're not good enough unless you're perfect, is that really true? Who decided what perfect looks like? And more importantly, do you want to keep living by that belief? This questioning isn't about blaming others or rejecting everything you've learned. It's about discernment, keeping what resonates with your authentic self and letting go of what doesn't. In the Toltec view, this process is like creating a new dream, one that aligns with your personal truth rather than the collective illusion. It's important to observe yourself in this process. If this approach is new to you, you will inevitably slip back into your old programming over and over again. But the more you notice the programming and question it, the more it will loosen up, and as this happens, you will be able to make more conscious, authentic choices. The 4 agreements offer a practical roadmap for this transformation, and we have videos on each of these, which will be linked to at the end screen. Therefore, we will only go through them briefly here, so you get a feel for how they apply in this context, and you can check them out in more depth for yourself if you want to. The first agreement, be impeccable with your word, is about using your words to uplift yourself and others, rather than perpetuate negativity or self-sabotage. Words are powerful. They shape your reality. When you speak with integrity and kindness, you begin to dismantle the harsh voice of the inner judge. The second agreement, don't take anything personally, is a liberating practice. It reminds you that people's actions and opinions are more about their own beliefs and perceptions than about you. When you stop taking things personally, you free yourself from the emotional reactions that often reinforce domestication. Instead of internalizing someone's criticism, you can view it as their perspective, not an absolute truth about you. The third agreement, don't make assumptions, invites you to replace misunderstandings with clarity. Domestication often trains us to assume the worst, to believe we're at fault when things go wrong, or to expect others to read our minds. Breaking this pattern involves asking questions and communicating openly, which fosters healthier relationships and a more grounded sense of self. Finally, the fourth agreement, always do your best, acknowledges that your best will change from moment to moment. Some days, you'll feel strong and capable. Other days, you might feel tired or unsure. Doing your best doesn't mean being perfect. It means showing up as fully as you can in each moment. This agreement helps you replace self-criticism with self-compassion, breaking the cycle of judgment and victimhood. Beyond the 4 agreements, the Toltec tradition emphasizes the importance of self-love and forgiveness. Domestication often teaches us to seek love and approval from others, but true freedom comes from loving and accepting yourself unconditionally. This isn't the narcissistic self-love that is so prevalent in our society today, which is not really self-love at all. It's not about arrogance or selfishness, but about recognizing your inherent worth and treating yourself with the kindness you deserve. Forgiveness plays a key role here, not just forgiving others, but forgiving yourself for the ways you've judged or rejected your own humanity. When you forgive, you release the emotional baggage that keeps you tethered to old wounds and agreements. You create space for healing and growth, allowing your authentic self to emerge. The Toltec path isn't about achieving perfection or erasing all the effects of domestication overnight. It's a journey of awareness, choice, and practice. As you dismantle the old agreements and create new ones, you'll likely encounter resistance, both from within and from those around you. Change can feel uncomfortable, especially when it challenges long-held beliefs. But with patience and persistence, you can reclaim your freedom. To live authentically in the Toltec sense means stepping out of the dream of the planet and into your own dream. It means listening to your inner voice and consciously and with discernment, honoring your truth, even when it diverges from societal norms. It means embracing the messiness of being human and finding joy in the process of becoming. In summary, domestication in the Toltec tradition refers to the conditioning we undergo to conform to societal expectations, shaping our beliefs and creating inner conflict. This process instills a judge and a victim within us, locking us in cycles of self-judgment and powerlessness. Breaking free involves questioning the limiting beliefs we've internalized, replacing them with agreements that reflect our true values. The 4 agreements: being impeccable with your word, not taking things personally, avoiding assumptions, and always doing your best, offer practical tools for this transformation. By embracing self-love, forgiveness, and authenticity, we can reclaim our freedom and create a life aligned with our true selves. So, as you move through your life, consider the ways domestication shows up for you. Notice the agreements that shape your thoughts, feelings, and actions. Question them with curiosity, not judgment. A big part of this is to simply become aware of what you've agreed to, as the agreements happen unconsciously for the absolute most part. We are usually not as aware as we think of our thoughts, emotions, words, and actions, which is something that is repeated a lot on this channel for good reasons. In this context, you are reminded of the importance of observing yourself. Observe both what is happening on the inside as you interact with your experiences and how you respond to them in your behavior. Think consciously about what conclusions you can draw from this, as it will tell you a lot about your programming. In other words, it will tell you a lot about what you've been domesticated into. You've now reached the end of the video. Remember to like and subscribe. Thank you for your time.